Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 187 based on novel. So let's start. In the room, Xiao Yan was sitting on the bed. In the palm of his hand, there were 8 Naji with different shapes. Xiao Yan's soul power was patrolling one by one from these 8 Naji. First of all, it's the Naji of the Su brothers, just 2 1-star dipper emperors. Naturally, the items in the Naji can rarely get into Xiao Yan's eyes. In addition to a small amount of spirit stones, there were only a few third-order pills to see. Xiao Yan compared them at will, and guessed that the pills might be the reward for the Wang family. Unfortunately, they had not had time to do anything, so they lost their lives in vain. After casually skipping it, Xiao Yan looked at Jin's acceptance ring again. The latter is a 4-star fighting emperor. In contrast, the value of items in the ring naturally increases a lot. The third-order pill and human-level skills are also interesting. What makes Xiao Yan most excited is that there are 3 volumes of spirit-level skills in this guy's ring. The highest volume actually reaches the intermediate level of spirit level. It's amazing that such a skill can appear in the hands of a 4-star fighting emperor who is not very powerful. After all, not everyone has the long and huge power support of the 4 families under the Tianjian sect, and there are few ways to obtain the skills of skill fighting. Sure enough, he can be famous at the border of the Western Wasteland. This Jin Ji is not an ordinary person, but it's a pity that he met Xiao Yan. Then, the 4th Naji is Wang Xiong's. As the last patriarch of the Wang family, he is the real leader of the Wang family. Among his Naji, all kinds of treasures are even more amazing. Even Xiao Yan can't help looking golden when he sees it. There is no need to say more about the number of pills. In addition to a large number of third-order pills, there are 2 fourth-order pills in Naji. These are pills that can kill human flesh and bones at a critical moment. Even in Xiao Yan's hand, there is no fourth-order pill, but I didn't expect there to be a fourth-order pill in Wang Xiong's hand. In addition, what makes Xiao Yan feel more ecstatic is that in addition to 2 fourth-order pills, there are 3 volumes of fourth-order pills in this ring, which makes Xiao Yanru a treasure. If the 2 fourth-order pills can make Xiao Yan laugh with excitement, then the 3 volumes of fourth-order pills are enough to make him crazy. Compared with Dan medicine, Dan prescription is the real lifeblood of a herbalist. Dan medicine is precious, but it will be used up in the end, but Dan Fang is different. As long as there is Dan Fang, it shows that there is an opportunity to refine more Dan medicine, which will continue for a long time. I believe most people will know how to weigh the pros and cons. At least, on the premise that it is not a desperate situation. If a herbalist makes a choice between level 4 pill and level 4 pill, the herbalist will definitely choose the latter without hesitation. In addition to pills and prescriptions, even the reserves of spirit stone in this ring are quite amazing. Even Xiao Yang himself can't help but tut. Tut tut. The old man should not have brought the whole family's details to him alone. With these things, I'm afraid there are no more than 2 or 3 treasures in his royal family. Compared with the treasure house of the Wang family, the number of spirit stones in this treasure house is several times more than that in that treasure house. Even compared with the spirit stones in Xiao Yang's treasure house, there are many more. As for the skill fighting skills, except for 2 volumes of intermediate skill of spirit level, Xiao Yan can't see anything. As for others, they are also some rare medicinal materials or metal materials. Xiao Yang also made a lot of money in his acceptance ring. Then Xiao Yang picked up Wang Zhenyu's ring again, and the smile on his face gradually faded down. Although Wang Zhenyu is the current owner of the Wang family, the real sovereignty of the Wang family is still in the hands of Wang Xiong. In the final analysis, Wang Zhenyu is just an empty shelf. However, just like this, when Xiao Yang opened his Naji, the scene in it stunned Xiao Yang for a time. In contrast, in this ring, although the elixir is not as good as the martial arts, the number of spirit stones in this ring is extremely amazing. Countless spirit stones piled up into mountains and piled up in front of Xiao Yang without control, just like hills. Under the soft white light, the whole space became extremely dazzling. I'm afraid the spirit stone in the ring can't compare with Xiao Yang and the others in front. Mutter. When his throat rolled, Xiao Yang couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva until a moment later, he gradually regained his consciousness. The soft white light shone on Xiao Yan's handsome face. A pair of painted black eyes reflected a milky hot light. The tongue licked his lips. The excitement in his heart became unbearable at the moment. Such a large number of spirit stones is a great wealth for Xiao Yan. With these spirit stones, the cultivation of the 9 incarnations will be completely solved in the future. Generally speaking, the emergence of these spirit stones is also a great help to Xiao Yang's own combat power. Finally, it is naturally Xu Songming's turn to accept the ring. Among the 8 receiving precepts, the one that makes Xiao Yang most excited naturally belongs to Xu Songming's receiving precepts. As a third-order herbalist and a member of the Herbalist Alliance, the latter must have a lot of pills in his hand. If he can get some high-order pills from the main street, it will undoubtedly be the biggest surprise for Xiao Yang. Sure enough, in Xu Songming's receiving ring, there are more than 10 kinds of prescriptions for third-order pills alone. Although this seems to be few, even Xiao Yang himself is only 9 volumes of third-order pills in his receiving ring. In addition to the Dan prescriptions in the first few, there are only 26 volumes of the third-order Dan medicine Dan prescriptions in Xiao Yana ring. You can see it from the inside. Therefore, the existence of more than 10 volumes of third-order Danfang is a great surprise for Xiao Yang. In addition to these, there are more than a dozen third-order pills. From this point of view, Xu Songming, a third-order herbalist, is poor enough. The third-order herbalist has only more than 10 third-order pills in his hand, but it is really a shame. However, Xiao Yang was relieved to think about it. Except that some of the pills in his hands were refined by himself, half of them came from other places, while Xu Songming's pills were different. No matter how much he needed, he could only refine them by himself. After all, his strength did not support him to have enough ability to obtain pills from other places. In addition to more than a dozen volumes of third-order elixir prescriptions, Xiao Yang also got 3 volumes of fourth-order elixir prescriptions, 3 volumes of spirit-level intermediate skills, and a lot of precious medicinal materials. At this point, the 7 rings were swept away by Xiao Yang, and Xiao Yang's wallet swelled in an instant. Xiao Yang has no doubt that even the 4 main doors may not be able to compare with his wealth. Finally, it's time for the 8th ring. Compared with the previous 7 rings, this ring is different. On the snow-white ring, some mysterious symbols and seal characters are engraved, and there is a faint golden light on it. After careful exploration, Xiao Yang is surprised to find that there is a layer of golden light on the surface of the ring that is difficult to detect by the naked eye, so he protects the ring. Xiao Yang can recognize those mysterious seal characters. They are unique to the array. But what makes people wonder is why the seal characters used in the array appear on a ring. With this in mind, Xiao Yang couldn't help but light his eyebrows and slowly narrowed his eyes. This ring doesn't seem to be an ordinary ring. With doubts in his heart, Xiao Yang intended to inject his soul power into the ring, but when Xiao Yang approached the ring with his soul power, it suddenly emitted a burst of bright golden light. Those mysterious symbols and seal characters suddenly sparkled, and the amorphous golden light wrapped in its outer layer also suddenly emitted a strong breath. Unexpectedly, it rebounded Xiao Yang's soul power. What's different from ordinary receiving precepts is that the rebound power of this ring still has some lethality. If Xiao Yang's soul power was not strong enough, I'm afraid I wouldn't be hurt for it. Hey! Aware of this, Xiao Yang gently raised his eyebrows and showed a look of surprise. Unexpectedly, this ring has such an overbearing ability. It is worthy of being the hand of the array mage. Such means are not available to the herbalist. A thought flashed in his heart. Xiao Yang raised his eyes and fell on the milky white ring in front of him again. It is not difficult to see from the rebound force of the ring that there should be something of great value in the ring, and it also needs specific methods to open the ring. Unfortunately, with the fall of Xu Songming, the methods used to open the ring naturally disappear. Now, if Xiao Yanruo wants to open the ring, the best way is to open it, is to break the array wrapped in the outer layer of the ring. With this in mind, the corners of Xiao Yang's mouth inevitably aroused a sneer. Although the defense of this array is good, with the powerful soul power of Xiao Yang's third-order herbalist, Xiao Yang can't stop Xiao Yang. At this point, Xiao Yang has absolute confidence. According to Xiao Yang's guess, it only takes 2 or 3 soul collisions to break it. At that time, everything in the ring will naturally appear in front of Xiao Yang. The eyes were empty and narrowed, and a sharp color flashed in a pair of painted black eyes. Then, Xiao Yang spread out his palms, put the milky white ring in the void in front of him with one hand, and then read it in his heart. The soul in his eyebrows trembled violently. Then, the huge soul power surged out of his mind like a storm. The invisible power wrapped the ring in front of him into a ball. Under the powerful soul fluctuation, the invisible void suddenly stirred up. Under the control of Xiao Yang, the huge soul power gathered crazily. The original invisible soul power gradually solidified under such crazy condensation. Finally, it turned into 3 real drill bits and hit the ring from 3 different directions along Xiao Yang's ideas. Buzz. Suddenly, a buzzing sound that made the soul feel tingling spread. For a moment, the whole room where Xiao Yang was located trembled. If Xiao Yang didn't stop it, I'm afraid that the buzzing sound alone would make many people in the Fang family suffer irreparable trauma. However, under this huge movement, the golden light on the surface of the milky white ring, which was originally shining, also suddenly dimmed a lot. Just as Xiao Yang expected, this ring cannot easily resist the soul bombardment of a third-order herbalist. Seeing this scene, Xiao Yang's smile at the corners of his mouth was even worse. At the same time, the look on his face also became more fierce. His heart read a move, and the 3 soul drill bits bombarded the ring again. Buzz. Another collision made the ring tremble suddenly. The array condensed around the ring was also rapidly dim. Before the buzzing disappeared, Xiao Yang controlled the 3 drill bits again and bombarded the ring surface violently. Bang! The dim array burst in an instant, and the twisted golden seal characters on the ring were simply dimmed. After finishing these, Xiao Yang smiled again without hesitation. While the 3 soul bits dispersed, part of the soul power also poured into the milky white ring in front of him. With the sudden change of sight in front of Xiao Yang's mind entered the space of this ring. The first thing that comes into view is a dazzling golden light. Under the golden light, Xiao Yang's eyes narrowed subconsciously. After a few breaths, he slowly raised his eyes and looked at the space in front of him. The whole space is much narrower than Xiao Yang expected. At most, it is not much different from the storage space of intermediate Naji. This size of Naji is almost useless for Xiao Yang today. However, since this ring can be carried by Xu Songming, Xiao Yang believes that it is not so useless as it looks. Sure enough, when Xiao Yang's eyes were scanning around the space in front of Xiao Yang was distorted and changed without warning. Seeing this, Xiao Yang didn't show any panic on his face, and waited for the change of the space in front of him calmly. After just a few breaths, the distorted void in front of Xiao Yang finally stabilized gradually. At this time, what appeared in front of Xiao Yang was not a real object, but a virtual shadow with the size of a palm. The virtual shadow is very solid. In addition to having no breath, it looks like a real object. If you can't detect the breath, I'm afraid it will be mistaken. This is. Looking at the image in front of him, Xiao Yang frowned suspiciously and stared at the things in front of him. He was both shocked and surprised. He really did not expect that there would be such a thing on this continent. At the moment, what appeared in front of Xiao Yang was a 6-petaled flower. The whole flower is wrapped in pure snow-white color, which is white and pure. It seems that they are afraid to pollute it. Only at the flower core, there is a little purple the size of a thumb. Dressing up the whole flower is like icing on the cake to make it look more pure and happy. The 6 petals open outward like a trumpet, as if to embrace the whole world, or to embrace the whole world. It looks quite atmospheric. From the appearance of the flower alone, the flower must be extraordinary. Of course, based on Xiao Yang's experience, although he has not seen it with his own eyes so far, Xiao Yang also knows this kind of flower from countless ancient books. However, the only thing Xiao Yang can't believe at this time is why there are 6 petals in this flower. Fu Zhanghua. Xiao Yang solemnly stared at the flowers in front of him, and his eyebrows were tightly screwed together. Only after a long time did he make a voice with some swaying tone. Hibiscus, I can't imagine that there will be hibiscus in this world. Can you say? In the space of the ring, Xiao Yang stood in place, staring at the image of the 6-petaled flower in the void in front of him, and a storm was rising in his heart. Xiao Yang never imagined that he would see Fusang flowers here. Fusang flower, if it was placed in the fighting spirit mainland, it would have disappeared for many years. It has been called extinct and can no longer be found in the world. However, now, this can be called an extinct thing. Now it actually appears in front of Xiao Yang. Even if it is only an image, it is still shocking and exciting. Fusang flower, which grows in the ancient spirit tree of Fusang, is one of the rare treasures in heaven and earth. The emergence of this flower is bound to cause a sensation in the mainland. Of course, unless the news can really spread, and this situation is usually completely impossible, because when Fuzanghua appears, Fuzanghua will be competed by all parties in a very short period of time. Before the news spread, Fuzanghua has already fallen into hands and disappeared long ago. The ancient tree of Fusang, the tree, and the ancient tree of Wutong are called the three great sacred trees in the world. Once, Xiao Yang had seen information about the ancient spirit tree of Fusang in many ancient books, and it was clearly described in all ancient books that Fusang peanuts have 5 petals, but the Fusang flower in front of Xiao Yang's eyes is very different from Xiao Yang's knowledge. 6-petal Fusang flower is also one of the reasons why Xiao Yang dared not identify the flower for a long time. Fusang flower, how can it appear in this ring? Back to his mind, Xiao Yang paid attention to the most important point. Why does the image of Fusang flower appear in this ring, and why can Xu Songming carry this ring with him? Where is this hibiscus flower hidden in this ring? Xiao Yang seems to suddenly think of setting. A pair of black eyes suddenly shine, and the surprise in his heart is beyond measure. If that's the case, as long as you follow the guidance of this ring and get Fusang flowers, you won't have a great opportunity in vain. Fusang ancient spirit tree can be as famous as Body ancient tree, or even surpass it. Naturally, it has its advantages. Different from the ancient body tree's ability to break through cultivation, the biggest feature of Fusang ancient spirit tree is that it contains extremely huge soul power. This soul power is accumulated through countless years of precipitation. Fusang flower was born in Fusang ancient spirit tree and naturally contains extremely pure and huge soul power. Therefore, for herbalists and array masters, Fusang flower is undoubtedly the most precious treasure. As long as you can wait for a Fusang flower, it means that the soul power will be improved by leaps and bounds. At that time, it will bring not only the improvement of power, but also the qualitative improvement of your own status. At that time, countless powerful forces will be moved by it, and powerful sectarian forces will throw olive branches or even low invitations to it. Of course, if you can join Dantar, it will undoubtedly bring greater glory to it. When walking on the mainland in the name of Dantar, everyone should be courteous. For ordinary herbalists, it represents supreme glory. Of course, this is not attractive to Xiao Yang. After taking a deep breath, Xiao Yanning was absorbed. He looked at the image of Fuzanghua in front of him again, and his heart was filled with sigh. In addition, he was more curious. If only with an image, it can't let Xiao Yang find Fuzanghua. With this in mind, Xiao Yang frowned. Just when Xiao Yang was full of doubts, the Fusang flower in front of him was twisted again. Well, Xiao Yang's eyes coagulated, frowned, and stared at the gradually twisted Fusang flowers in front of him. His throat rolled slightly, and his mood could not help but get nervous. I hope this Fusang flower in front of me will live up to his full expectations. With the gradual distortion of space, the original 6-petal flower, the pure and beautiful Fusang flower, has become shapeless in the twinkling of an eye. Not only has it lost its original appearance, but even the shadow of a flower cannot be seen. However, Xiao Yang is more concentrated in such a short and anxious wait, staring at the distorted space in front of him. Unconsciously, along the twisted direction of the flowers, Xiao Yang seemed to see what law, or something else. This time, it is not a virtual shadow, but a real entity. After more than 10 breaths, Xiao Yang wiped away the sweat gushing from his forehead, and the constantly distorted space in front of him was stabilized again. This time, what appeared in front of Xiao Yang was a special famous post the size of the palm of his hand. The overall structure of the famous calligraphy looks similar to Xiao Yang's engraved herbalist. They are all made of special metal. The only difference is that many symbols and seal characters are engraved on this famous calligraphy, which is the symbol of the array master. On the back of this famous post, the word Jinyao is clearly and deeply written. Jinyao, whispered in his mouth. Xiao Yang remembered where he had seen these two words. Then, Xiao Yang seemed to think something. As soon as his palm turned over, a cortical map appeared in Xiao Yang's hand. After a quick check, Xiao Yang immediately found the place related to the word Jinyao. Jinyao Cheng. Slightly frown, Xiao Yang was a little surprised. Jinyao Cheng is the gathering place of array mags in the western regions. Judging from this famous post, will Fusang flower appear there? The herbalists have their own guild of herbalists, and the array mags naturally have their own territory, but they are not as large as the herbalists, and this Jinyao city is exactly the gathering place of the array mags in the western regions. Suddenly, just when Xiao Yang was surprised at the location of Fusang flower, the emptiness in front of him twisted again. Just in case, Xiao Yang quickly grabbed the famous post in front of him, and then focused on it. However, the result that Xiao Yang saw quickly reduced most of the longing in his heart. After distorting the void in front of me for a long time, the result is a line of words, and the general content is that it has been explained that Fusang flower is in Jinyaocheng, but the way to get it is to win it by auction at the Jinyaocheng auction to be held in 3 months. Finally, Xiao Yang reluctantly withdrew his soul power from the ring. At the same time, he also brought out the famous post. That is the most useful and useless thing Xiao Yang got this time. Although I found Fusang flower, it may not be my own thing in the end. Although I know the location, I can't touch it. I'm afraid there's nothing more painful than this. However, news is better than nothing. Everything is still early. Before the last minute, who knows who the Fusang flower will belong to? With the few expectations in his heart, Xiao Yang took a deep breath and smiled. Immediately, he moved, jumped out of the bed and walked outside the door. Now that Xiao Shen's business is over for a while, Tianjua Ancient Tomb is not in a hurry. Instead, you might as well go to Jinyaocheng to have a try. It is also a gathering place for the strong in the western regions. This is more or less helpful to Xiao Yang's own experience and strength. Naturally, he won't miss it easily. Out of the door, Xiao Yang just closed the door and turned around, but at the next moment, his body jumped violently. He couldn't help but step back and look up. It turned out that Fang Ruyan was standing in front of him. Until just now, Xiao Yang was thinking about Fuzanghua, but didn't notice that there was someone outside the door. The girl stood here unprepared, which almost made Xiao Yang mobilize her fighting spirit. Once that happened, Xiao Yang couldn't help worrying about the consequences. Fang Ruyan was frightened when she saw Xiao Yang. The pretty face she had raised couldn't help but burst into a panic. She just wanted to ask, but then Xiao Yang's eyes came, but she couldn't help lowering her head. At the same time, Xiao Yang just recovered from the shock of the previous moment, glanced helplessly at his mouth, and swept his eyes from the girl's slightly fluctuating chest with palpitation. At such a close distance, Xiao Yang was just a little higher than Ruyan. Therefore, the large spring light in front of the girl's chest came into Xiao Yang's eyes at the moment Xiao Yang looked up. Immediately, Xiao Yang's old face turned red. He habitually touched his nose with his hand and coughed twice. Xiao Yang asked, "What can I do for Miss Fang?" Ruyan didn't dare. "My father asked my little daughter to invite adults to attend the family banquet in our family." Hearing Xiao Yang's words, Fang Ruyan quickly bowed respectfully, and the words in her mouth seemed very respectful. If Fang Ruyan dared to get angry with Xiao Yang before he killed those strong fighters, then now, after seeing Xiao Yang's strength, even if she gave her Fang Ruyan great courage, she would never dare to mess with Xiao Yang. Otherwise, once the latter gets angry, I'm afraid it's not just herself. Oh, family dinners. It seems illogical for me to attend such dinners. Xiao Yang frowned slightly. The family banquet is a banquet that people of the same family can only attend. This kind of banquet is particularly valued in a family. Anyone outside the family will not be allowed to attend, let alone invited. What's the purpose of doing this? You're welcome, sir. You saved our whole Fang family. My father and several elders have regarded adults as our own people for a long time, and my father also said that if Lord Xiao Yang didn't show up today, the family banquet would never start. It seems that Fang Ruyan was afraid of Xiao Yang's refusal. Fang Ruyan said a lot at once. This remark made Xiao Yang speechless. In this way, he even had no reason to refuse. It seems that this family banquet was not prepared for the people of the Fang family, but a Hongmen banquet for him. Thinking of this, Xiao Yang immediately flashed a light in his eyes, but then he grinned and said, "Well, since leader Fang kindly invited me, it would be impolite if I didn't go. Let's go." Xiao Yang laughed and moved. Under the guidance of soul power, he took the lead in walking towards the gathering place of the Fang family. Then Fang Ruyan wanted to keep up. By the way, just one step, the second step didn't fall, but Xiao Yang suddenly turned around, startled the girl behind him, and stepped back 2 steps. Then, Xiao Yang said with a smile, "You'd better not call me an adult. It sounds awkward for you to call me that. You'd better call my name directly." After saying that, without waiting for the girl to recover, Xiao Yang took the lead in setting out and quickly went to the gathering place of the Fang family. Later, the girl also blushed. After reading Xiao Yang's name once, she hurried to follow. After a short moment, Xiao Yang and Fang Ruyan came to the gathering place of the Fang family. Here is the school venue of the Fang family on weekdays, but today is the place where the family banquet is held. When everyone saw Xiao Yang, who was late, they immediately got up together. They all faced Xiao Yang together. Even at the main seat in front of them, Equation and the elders of Fang family all stood up and faced Xiao Yang. Then, they saluted Xiao Yang in unison. Seeing this, Xiao Yang was surprised. These people's actions really flattered him. After returning the salutes one by one, Xiao Yang strode forward, followed by Fang Ruyan, and came to the Equation. Here, they had already prepared seats for the two, which happened to be on the left and right sides of the Equation. After Xiao Yang sat down, Yuan Qing was leaning on the left. It was not until Xiao Yang sat down that other people present took their seats one after another. "Hehe, Lord Xiao Yang, this banquet should have been prepared long ago, but Lord Xiao Yang was closed for half a month, and we were afraid to disturb him. This has not started. Now Lord Xiao Yang is present, and we are all together, hehe." Sitting next to Xiao Yang, the Equation smiled at Xiao Yang and took up the wine glass. It was an apology when Xiao Yang drank it. Later, Yuan Qing and several elders of the Fang family, even Fang Ruyan, couldn't avoid it. Soon, Xiao Yang talked with several people around him, especially the Equation. 3 words are inseparable from Xiao Yang, and 2 words are just like Yang. The words he uttered are always beating between Xiao Yang and Ruyan, and people don't know whether he is really drunk or intentionally. Xiao Yang was full of doubts. During this period, he frowned and looked at Yuan Qing from time to time. The latter smiled awkwardly, but didn't say much. Even Fang Ruyan at this time was said to be blushing, but I didn't know whether it was because of drinking wine or something else. However, the pair of beautiful eyes looking at Xiao Yang could not help but show a sense of autumn. "Ha, Xiao Yang, I have to thank Xiao Yang for helping me last time when I was in Wuyo City. I can only come back alive." Equation seemed to be really drunk, flushed, with a vague smile on his face. He put one hand on Xiao Yang's shoulder and held the wine cup in the other hand and sent it to Xiao Yang's mouth. "Oh, it's a trivial matter. It's nothing to mention. All the things that day were just easy. You're welcome, Master Fang." Xiao Yang looked at the latter calmly, and then smiled abruptly. He took the wine from the latter's hand and drank it in one gulp. Ha, okay, Xiao Yang's friendly spirit. Seeing this, the smile on Equation's face suddenly became more rich. He directly hugged Xiao Yang's shoulder and laughed while he was drunk. "Xiao Yang's little friend should also know that I'm such a precious daughter. I'm afraid of falling in my hand and melting in my mouth. I've always been taking care of her carefully for fear of what's wrong with this girl. These years, the girl has grown up. Sooner or later, the family can't keep her. The little guy who had to survive under the protection of the eagle can now be alone." At this point, the Equation's face could not help showing a touch of relief. It's reasonable to say that the family is in great trouble this time. I don't want her to come back. I don't want this girl to enter the tiger's mouth. As I'm worried, if it weren't for Xiao Yang's little friend, I'm afraid not only the little girl would have an accident, but also the current Fang family would no longer exist. At this point, the equation seemed to wake up a lot in an instant, and the expression on his face became a little melancholy. Then he hugged Xiao Yang's shoulder and began to laugh foolishly, and his topic always revolved around Xiao Yang and Fang Ruyan. Ha ha, I don't know what Xiao Yang thinks of my daughter's accomplishments. Suddenly, the equation seemed to ask Fang Ruyan's accomplishments unintentionally. Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang was slightly stunned. After a little meditation, he smiled and said, "It is rare for Miss Fang to reach the cultivation of 7 stars and a half emperors at such an age. It can be said that Miss Fang's cultivation speed is extremely amazing. If such cultivation is placed in Shilin region, it can also protect one side. It is not strong." After hearing Xiao Yang's words, Fang Ruyan's pretty face was even more red. "Ha ha, I'm so lucky that I can win Xiao Yang's praise. Ha ha." Several people laughed. Xiao Yang also agreed with them, but there was some doubt in his heart. What's the purpose of equation saying so? Xiao Yang, you saved our family from fire and water, and saved my daughter's life. We can't repay such kindness. But if I can, I don't mind letting my daughter follow Xiao Yang and take care of her. It's also, Master Fang, you've said so much. It's not just for this sentence. However, while equation was intoxicated and hazy holding Xiao Yang's shoulder and full of words, Xiao Yang suddenly stood up. His face was slightly ugly and pushed away the equation pressed on him. A touch of coldness also appeared on his seemingly peaceful face at this moment. As soon as Xiao Yang said this, it was not just an equation. Even the other people present at the moment were suddenly shocked. An inexplicable chill rose rapidly from the bottom of everyone's heart, and looked at Xiao Yang one after another. On one side, Yuan Qing also looked ugly. At this time, he stood up with an old face with a helpless color. He wanted to say something, but in the end, he sighed deeply, lowered his head and shut up. At this moment, the equation that originally looked intoxicated and hazy also instantly returned to consciousness, the red color on a face quickly faded, and the whole person's state also recovered his usual composure. However, at this time, he looked at Xiao Yang's eyes, but he dodged slightly. Perhaps everything he said just now was not from his heart, but he had to say that for the sake of the family. If you can connect the family behind you with the young man in front of you, the Fang family will no longer be limited to this small Helan city in the future. But he didn't expect that Xiao Yang would refuse so decisively, and his attitude was also extremely firm. So it seems that his Fang family would be too rash and end up with this result. I'm afraid he can only blame himself. He only thought of the family behind him, but did not consider the idea of the black-robed youth in front of him. Who knows what Xiao Yang's mind will think? Who? With a long breath, Xiao Yang glanced at Yuan Qing beside him, moved his body, and left here in silence. After that, everyone present was silent. Everyone held his breath and watched Xiao Yang leave. Everyone was particularly nervous for fear of angering the adult. At the same time, when he looked at his own owner, his eyes showed surprise and doubt. What did the equation do to make Xiao Yang's attitude change so sharply? For a moment, the atmosphere on the field became heavy. It was like a huge stone pressing on everyone's heart. The invisible momentum gushing from Xiao Yang's body made them almost out of breath. When everyone relaxed, he sat back in his chair with regret. His eyes looked at the wine glass in front of him, and his heart was full of deep regret. What I just did may have pushed away the future strong man in the western regions. Seeing Xiao Yang leave, Yuan Qing also stood up after a little hesitation, found the equation in front of him, patted the latter on the shoulder with his palm, which was a consolation. After giving an instruction, he left to find Xiao Yang. Beside a pond, Xiao Yang stood quietly. Beside him grew a strong willow tree. The soft willow branches fell in the water, swaying with the wind and rippling on the water. Xiao Yang looked at the pool water in front of him, which reflected the blue sky. Several white clouds were rippling under the ripples, like a dancing girl, which was daydreaming. Mr. Xiao Yang, he didn't mean it just now. He was just drunk. Whether you are drunk or not, I know in my heart. In fact, I don't care. I didn't call you to say it, just because I'm leaving. Xiao Yang's eyes still didn't leave the water. He said slowly in his mouth. Suddenly, he saw a willow branch on the water, on which a leaf slowly fell and floated in the water, and gradually flowed away with those ripples. Mr. Xiao Yang is leaving? Where are you going? Yuan Qing frowned and stopped walking forward. He came to the western regions to look for Xiao Yang, but now, the latter came and went in a hurry. After a short meeting, the two will be separated again. Jin Yaocheng, there will be an auction there in 3 months. I have to go. Seeing the willow leaf turn over and fall into the bottom of the pool, Xiao Yang turned around and looked at Yuan Qing behind him and said slowly, "Then what I just did?" Yuan Qing was surprised. Although the equation spoke rashly, it shouldn't have been so with Xiao Yang's heart, but if Xiao Yang did it intentionally, it might make sense. After all, the Fang family is an individual. I can't stay in the Fang family all the time, and they can't expect others. I can't help them. The only thing I can do is maybe to leave. Only in this way can they really realize what they need, rather than always think of relying on the power of others. The things I got from the Wang family's treasure house are enough for the Fang family to enhance their great strength in a short time and expand their power. I should do what I want to do. This video will end here.